Welcome to the Mortgage Broker Podcast, tailor-made for Canadian mortgage industry professionals. Proudly presented by A Better Way Mortgage Group, this podcast is your trusted source for insider insights, market updates, and strategies to elevate your career in the ever-evolving world of mortgage brokering. Whether you're a seasoned broker with A Better Way Mortgage Group or an industry enthusiast looking to stay ahead, our episodes are designed to empower you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the Canadian mortgage space. All right, we're back for another episode of the Mortgage Broker Podcast. And today we're wrapping up the perfect loan process, rolling into broker complete to funded, which is the last iteration of our perfect loan process series. So this is making the seventh session here. And again, this is a comprehensive process that we developed back in our days running Thrive Mortgage. Derek and I, who is joining me on the show today. If you're looking to catch up on all of these episodes, we started back on episode 9, which was where we introduced and outlined each crucial stage to be covered in this dedicated series. Essentially, this has become a real training series of episodes that we've been able to compile into a really strong resource that we're actually releasing today. So if you go to our website, joinabw.ca/perfect loan process. We'll actually put the link in the show notes as well. You can follow along every session in a detailed training module, which has all the templates for each module, each session that we talked about. Any templates, scripts are all going to be found there. A very detailed written summary of all of these sessions are also going to be found there. So this is a big day for us to be able to launch that to the public, so anyone listening can get access to that. And so just moving forward, what you'll find there is you'll see links to the recent episodes of 13, 14, 16, and 17, which is where we delved into the lead consultation, document collection and pre-review and review summary processes, along with the planning and strategy session as well. Last episode, which was episode 18th, which again will be found on the same resource, was the live deal to approve stage. So here we are today, wrapping up the final conclusion here, which is the broker complete to funded. And again, we realize that there's a lot of things that should be occurring in your journey after funded, and to us, we'll look at that as a separate series down the road, which we will certainly address. But this session was really the perfect loan process, everything that happens from introductory to a client to funding the mortgage. So with that, I'll pass it on to Derek to touch on what happens, or essentially how do we get triggered that the deal is broker complete, and what's occurring from there going forward. And we'll start off right there.
Yeah, so just to backtrack a little bit, obviously, in the previous episode, the approval is issued. There's an email that goes out. There's a phone call with the client to explain everything, walk through the conditions. And then the AMA, the Associate Mortgage Advisor, takes the reins on the file from there. So essentially the mortgage advisor and the underwriter are primarily out of the conversation. And the Associate Mortgage Advisor is working with the clients as quickly as they can to get the file broker complete. For anyone that doesn't know what broker complete means, it means that all of your conditions are satisfied, the broker conditions anyways, and the file is being sent to the lawyer. It's being instructed to the lawyer, and that's kind of the last step in the process. So before I dig into the broker complete kind of stage, and for this episode, we're assuming that we're at broker complete and what's next. I want to talk about just quickly the subject removal process, obviously in a purchase only. This is a point in the process where there's a lot of risk for the broker and the client. So just really quickly on this, the most important thing when you get that approval is you want to get as many conditions completed and signed off, reviewed by the lender, signed off before you're removing subjects. And primarily you want income, down payment, anything credit related, and then property related. You want to have those 4 buckets completely reviewed, signed off by the institution or lender that you're working with. Because with that done, there's a lot of confidence that nothing's going to go wrong in the application going forward. Now, in certain situations, there might be income conditions pending, right? Like maybe someone just started a new job and you need to get their first pay stub in 2 weeks and it's after subject removal. So when it comes to subject removal, the process that we've always ran is there's an email to the client on the day of subject removal outlining exactly what is needed from them to complete the broker conditions. There's a phone call with the client to walk through everything step by step to make sure that they have a really clear understanding of it. And then if they say, yes, I'm good, I'm going to remove subjects, I'm comfortable, I know I'm going to get these conditions afterwards, an email goes out to the client and the realtor saying, hey, we've gotten this as far as we can, assuming that you, the client, are comfortable removing subjects with these 3 conditions pending, we're good to remove subjects, right? So I think that the important thing is making sure that the client has a good, thorough understanding of what those conditions mean, what's required of them in detail. Don't be vague. And then you're also throwing it back on them to say, hey, like, I can't control your work situation. I can't control if you're going to go, overutilize credit. But I want to tell you right now, these 3 items are pending, and these are required to complete your financing. And if they give the green light from there, I mean, at least the clients have taken ownership of that. They understand what's needed, and then you're moving forward. And then back just to the CRM piece. If everyone's moving forward, they're removing subjects, there's a phone call to the real estate agent to walk them through what's going on, give them the green light. And then one of our milestones is actually a subject removal milestone. So that goes out to the clients involved, the real estate agent involved, the buyer's agent, and it gives them the green light to remove subjects, assuming that they are comfortable in doing so. So that's just one piece. In a perfect world, you're broker complete at time of subject removal, but as we all know, it's not always the case. So you want to get those big buckets done if you can. I've always put emphasis on the fact that you can get lawyer information later, you can get your banking information later, like the small items that might be a little bit more time consuming. If it's a rush situation, you can push those out a little bit if needed. So again, just back to the broker complete stage. This is a stage where we've satisfied all conditions. We've been notified. We're never making an assumption. We've been notified by the lender that we are broker complete. So what happens at that point is the associate mortgage advisor actually jumps into the CRM. They move it to the broker complete stage, which has some automated triggers for next steps. And that actually loops in another team member in this, which gets involved in the lawyer communication. So broker complete, we're essentially cleaning up tasks that might be pending in the file. Essentially, we've done what we needed to do from a condition perspective. There are automated follow-ups when we hit broker complete for the underwriter on the file. And the underwriter's follow-ups are to constantly be watching for rate drops if available. So that's a task that's spread out all the way until completion. And the last one is 2 weeks prior to completion, just to make sure that if there's any possibility to get their rate lower, we take action on that. The associate mortgage advisor and the mortgage advisor will always have a task in the file all the way to funding. You're just typically pushing it out. You might want to do a check-in here and there. There's some automated follow-ups that go out. But now we're broker complete. Conditions are met. There's no real action for the mortgage advisor, associate mortgage advisor, or underwriter or loan specialist outside of just notifying the client, right? And that notification that we use to let them know that's broker complete, we have an email template. There's a phone call that goes out. The email template actually lets them know that we're 100% complete. Thank you for your patience. We appreciate working with you. This isn't the end of the road, but here's what's next. And we also ask for a Google review at that point. At that point, clients have been through the bulk of the process outside of the legal side. And, they're typically going to know if they're comfortable writing you a Google review at that point or not. So on every single file, we're asking for a Google and or a Facebook review if they're comfortable. So I'll just pause there. Dean, I don't know if you want to jump in for kind of next steps.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things just to touch on. Like in this part of the process, there is typically just the associate mortgage advisor involved in the journey and the person dealing with the client. So again, like looking at the way we built this PLP is we have the 3 roles involved, at some point from start to finish. But at this stage, it's the AMA, and so they've been reintroduced to the client. Let's say after approval, which we talked about in the last session, and one of the follow-up templates that they would be utilizing is that condition follow-up, which is, again, something else that we're going to be sharing in this session, which is really just a master list of conditions with a little bit more explanation, client-friendly explanation as to what is required. So that's just one thing that is being used and dripped on for the AMA to not only just reintroduce themselves to the client, but to continue to follow up for those conditions. So that's something that will be found in the resource section that we found very useful, especially for the AMA and the client communication to just be really streamlined and not having to, let's say, jump on calls constantly to explain certain things. Just having that master resource on what is required and why is very helpful in this process to getting to broker complete. So that's pretty much all I would touch on there. And then again, now we're following over to the file should be instructed at this point, and what is occurring, and what are all the steps there. So that's where I'll jump in and take it from that point forward. So to Derek's point earlier, we've received the broker complete status, which would be communicated to us and confirmed by the lender. So we know the deal is broker complete, and now it's essentially in the lawyer's court. And so in this point of the stage, we have had other roles introduced into the journey, and so to contradict what I said in regards to this as a 3-person approach or 3-person pod. When at busy times, we've looked at adding a client coordinator, or sorry, a file coordinator into the process, and this is where they would jump in. And so there would be no communication with the client, so the client wouldn't know this additional role would be involved. But at busy times, we added this to reduce the workload on the AMA. So I'm going to move forward assuming that the AMA is doing these duties, and only look at bringing in a coordinator if in busy times. But essentially what's happening here is once they've received that confirmation that it's broker complete from the lender, they're now looking for confirmation that it's been instructed, which typically happens right at the same time of broker complete. Once they know that the file has been instructed, they will at the same time be following up with the lender. And in a lot of cases, they will actually send a communication to the lawyer ahead of the lender confirming instructions. And that's just almost like our own version of an instruction package to a lawyer. And so that would include a few things. So it would include a write-up and a summary of what the deal is, so the lawyer knows, hey, this file is coming to me. And so client name, lender, what's going on in the file would be summarized in that email. So again, like a miniature version of an instruction package, but only from us to the lawyer. So just a real clear and concise professional package. It would include things like the commitment letter, the client's ID, void checks, all certain things, insurance policies if we have it, things that that the lawyer is going to require from the client. And this actually creates a far better experience for the client, because a lot of times the lawyer will then follow up with the client asking them for items like an ID or a void check, items that you have, that they're thinking in their head like, hey, I already sent this to the broker. Why do I have to send this to the lawyer? So sending this ahead of time as part of your own instruction package it really does improve client experience. And then also it just makes things a lot more seamless for the lawyer. We've actually found in this process and the way we approach this, a lot of lawyers really appreciated working with our firm because of these efficiencies that we added. So that's the first step, is to ensure that the lawyer knows that this file is coming to them. And then now we're following up with the lawyer to confirm they received instructions. If there's any delay there, the AMA is going back to the lender saying, hey, the instructions aren't here yet, so on and so forth. So we're very hands-on at this approach, where we found where a lot of files have fallen apart for other brokers are brokers that don't have any process around this point of the journey. This is a really crucial point. We get that broker complete status and we think we're done. Well, a lot of things seem to fall apart at lawyers. And so if we have a really detailed communication process with the lawyer, we can mitigate a lot of issues that might come up. And lawyers are always knee-jerk reactions toward the client that can really cause frustration. So by engaging them like this, we become the conduit of communication. We ensure that the lawyer is always coming back to us to address any issues or any things that are needed. So again, another reason why we have such a clear process at this point and find it so important. So now, once we've ensured that the lawyer has received instructions, that is when we're going to move the stage in the CRM to instructed. We won't put it to instructed just when we hear that the lender sent instructions. We will only do it once we know the lawyers actually received them. And so that will trigger some updates. So a milestone update in our system would go out to the client and the realtor to confirm the file has been instructed. So that's an aha moment. It's definitely a good feeling for certainly the realtor to know that the file has been instructed. And then the client can now expect to look to book an appointment with the lawyer at that point. So we're going to notify the client that, hey, the file has been instructed in this milestone email, and to expect the opportunity to book a meeting with the lawyer for signing. We will follow up with that lawyer to confirm that the signing has been booked, especially if it's a long close. If we're not closing for a couple months in a purchase situation, we're going to, want to make sure we know when that's happening, because there's certain things that are going to follow in our process after that signing has occurred, but also leading up to it. We don't want to be blindsided with, hey, we needed this or we needed that, or some issues come up, and then we're being blindsided with a phone call from a lawyer with the client in their office. So we're very hands-on at this point to ensure that we know when it's occurring and we know that the lawyer has everything we need. We actually triple check that with the lawyer to make sure they have everything they need, and there's no differences from what we communicated in our instruction package versus what they've received from the lender. So very hands-on at this approach. Once the client has completed the signing, we have some automated tasks that are occurring for the AMA at this point, which is to confirm that everything is in line for funding. So, the client may sign with the lawyer, but there may still be things needed, such as insurance policies or anything that might be needed before funding. So we'll make sure that's all wrapped up with automated tasks and communication with the lawyer. Once that's confirmed, we're basically sitting back and waiting for the file to fund. So we have a couple email templates that we would use to send to the client and CC the agent if applicable, to just keep everyone involved, or to keep everyone involved updated. So this would be, we have 1 week post broker complete. So a lot of the times we're trying to wrap all this up is within that 1 week of getting broker complete status. And so that's an email that's to remind them of the insurance requirements that they're going to have to be prepared for. There's a few other just preparation items in that email, and it's really just a touch base piece. It's a more of a client experience piece. It's really just showing them that, hey, we're trying to help you, remind you, and ensure that everything goes seamless with the lawyer. The next email that we would send out to the team at this in this stage is 3 weeks after broker complete or 1 week prior to closing. So if this is a quick close, if this is a refinance, we might not have 3 weeks until closing. Or sorry, we might not have 3 weeks after broker complete. It might close before that. So we have a trigger that will send this other email out at 3 weeks after broker complete or 1 week prior. So whatever comes quicker. And this is just, again, another reminder email. There's some other value added information here, such as property tax info, payment frequency info, just giving them the opportunity if they do want to change the payment frequency, depending on the lender, that might be something that they can do now or with the lawyer, opposed to having to change that after the fact. So just some key information depending on the lender and the deal that they have in that email. So again, these are templates that we're going to share with you as well. They're just really touch-based pieces. We found that this could be a bit of a dead zone when it comes to communicating with the client and all parties involved, especially in long closes. Like almost nothing happens from broker complete to funding when it comes to communication with the client. So we're just trying to find ways to stay on top of things and make sure the client knows that we're on top of things and giving them reminders and feedback. So very important, crucial information that we're sending at that point, just to stay in touch. So just to summarize there, the templates used, broker complete, which Derek mentioned in the broker complete stage, which is just, again, informing everyone that the deal's broker complete. The post broker complete 1 week email, which I touched on, which is more the insurance information. And then the post broker complete 3 week or 1 week prior to close, which again is just property tax payment frequency information. So with that, now we're just monitoring this closing process, like I mentioned. And the last piece, which is the last milestone update that we actually send out. So this is back to the milestones, which we outlined in our first episode, where these are the milestones that are automatic updates that are going out. There's 13 of them. This is the last one, which is the day before funding. So as we're monitoring the closing process, the AMA will follow up with the lawyer the day before funding. And this is to ensure that they have everything that they absolutely need. There's nothing waiting here. If there is, we want to get ahead of that and wrap it up. But because of our diligent monitoring process, it's very rare that something pops up day before funding. So at this point, we're just getting a written confirmation from the lawyer. They have everything satisfied and they're ready to fund tomorrow. That is the last milestone update that will go out to the client and the realtor, or all parties involved, letting them know everything looks great for funding. Everything is in place. Nothing to worry about for tomorrow. Deal should fund as planned. So that milestone goes out. And then that day of funding, we're calling the lawyer to confirm that they've received clearance to fund. They've received funds from the lawyer or from the lender, and they're essentially ready to register and fund the deal. Typically, funds don't come from a lender until end of day on funding day. It's very typical. So we're following up throughout the day to ensure that they get those funds, and then ultimately confirm that the deal has been registered on title and the deal's funded. So once we have that, that's essentially the kind of the conclusion of this process. Is the deal has now been identified as a funded mortgage, and this is now where the AMA, or again client or deal coordinator, depending on who's managing this process, would update the CRM. Deal has funded. That is going to update all team members on the file that the deal has funded, and it's going to trigger the mortgage advisor to reach out to the client, realtor, and all parties involved to congratulate them that the deal is funded. Typically, we recommend this be a call. This is obviously a milestone update to celebrate. And so a call would be triggered ideally by the mortgage advisor to all parties to just thank them for their business. And also it's an opportunity to ask for feedback, ask for a client review on Google, ask for a referral. This is a great time to ask for those items. Again, this is a celebratory time. So we want to try to make sure that's a call. We would also follow up with our funded mortgage email template, which would go out to all parties as well. In that email template, there would be reference asking for a client review, referrals. All of that would be handled in that email as well. But again, call would be first priority. So maybe I'll just pause there. It does conclude our journey at this point, but I'm sure there might be something that Derek can kind of sprinkle in there.
The only one thing I'd add about the communication with the lawyer, and Dean hit the nail on the head from that perspective. So many brokers don't take ownership of that part of the process. They just feel like they're done when they see the broker complete notification. You need to be in contact with that lawyer, because if the lawyer's not in contact with you, they're going to call the client if there's some sort of an issue, and it's going to absolutely stir up a bunch of mud. The clients are going to be upset. A lot of times these potential issues are not issues, and they can be fixed behind the scenes without the clients actually knowing. So talk about an experience. You want to make sure that when you make that introduction, you tell the lawyer to call you if there's anything that comes up, anything that seems off. You try to fix it behind the scenes before it ever gets brought up to the client, right? So that was just one piece. The lawyer communication is huge. And then I know this is probably where Dean was going next, but kind of post funding, when that stage is moved to funded, and we'll go deeper on a later episode, but when the stage is moved to funded, it's triggering tasks for the rest of the team, right? So we're scheduling a 1 month, post funding call, 3 month post funding call, scheduling our annual reviews, putting them all in the CRM so that nothing's missed, making sure that all the data in the CRM is correct. That's a big piece, right? Like if you got a rate drop 2 weeks before closing, you need to make sure that the correct rate, and if it's a refinance, maybe the completion date moved, you need to make sure that your data in the CRM is bang on so that you can properly market to them in the future. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to add. I think you did a good job going through the details there.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, again, we've had client retention type episodes in the past. We've talked about director of WOW positions. Like this is where that all starts at funded going forward. And again, that we find that just slightly outside of the perfect loan process. That's the perfect business process in general of being a mortgage broker, is how to manage your database and all the things that occur there. And again, we will look at providing a very similar type series to this in regards to post funding. And I mean, in reality, like that is really where our job should start, is managing the mortgage. And again, we will certainly touch on that. But just to wrap here, like a couple things that we will summarize here is just around the scripts and the email templates. There's not a whole lot of scripting going on here because most of the communication is with the lender, confirming instructions with the lawyer. So most of the communication is actually written, and it's just congratulatory calls to the clients at these times. Unless something comes up, some issue comes up, then again, that's ad hoc that you got to deal with. But the main templates that we use is a condition follow-up templates, which vary between two versions. The first attempt, which is basically a reintroduction to the AMA, and then the follow-ups following that based on just following for the conditions that are required. We may also use a lawyer list, which we didn't touch on in this episode, but I'll touch on now. Given that we are so dialed in our lawyer communication, there's certain lawyers that are really good at communicating with us, and there's certain ones that are not. It's just no different than there's good mortgage brokers, there's bad ones, there's good doctors, there's bad ones. Like lawyers are not like, the be all end all in these transactions. In fact, like a lot of them are some of the worst professionals to deal with in some of these transactions when it comes to communication and just fumbling the bag, so to speak. So we like to use certain lawyers that we work well with, and we will recommend lawyers to clients, strongly recommend in some cases. In a lot of cases, if lawyers we know good lawyers that are maybe more expensive, we would actually offer to pay the difference of the cost versus maybe one that they found, such as a notary. We found a lot of the issues that we have with clients, lawyers, are typically in the notary direction. Not, it just is what it is. Those are the stats that we have with over thousands of loans a year. We found that our issues that arise at this time are usually with notaries. So we try to, and not that there isn't good notaries. We definitely have some good notaries listed on our list, but we have a pretty short list. There's probably 4 total solicitor options on our list that we recommend. And again, we say, if you have a cheaper option, let us know. We'll pay the difference just to ensure that this process goes extremely seamlessly. The other list that I mentioned in the episode was the master condition list. This is a master list that you could then, you're going to get your approval. You're going to know what conditions are remaining or outstanding on your approval. You can cross-reference to the master condition list and utilize the master condition list items just for a templated list of communicating these conditions to the client. Again, there's just a little bit more explanation, client-friendly explanation on that list that I'm sure you'll find helpful. I know our team certainly did. Broker complete to the client email. So that's an email template that's, again, just outlining the deals broker complete. We touched on the post broker complete 1 week email, post broker complete 3 week or 1 week prior to close email, and then the funded mortgage email. So quite a few templates utilized in this time frame. Again, this is probably the quickest episode or quickest session of the journey, just because broker complete to funded, there technically isn't that much going on, but in reality, there is a lot of communication going on with the lawyer at this point in time. So, which is why, and the client, which is why there's a number of templates utilized here. So, yeah, that pretty much wraps up this session. It wraps up the PLP. It's been fun doing this. It's been interesting just breaking it all down. Just given that we haven't been in the deal journey as mortgage brokers in a bit of time here, but it's been fun just breaking this down and looking at everything in detail. So with that, that is a wrap on the PLP series. All I can say is I hope you enjoyed it. For those of you that are going to jump into our resource, our training modules, give us feedback if there's anything you like or don't like, or anything you think is missing. Let us know. There will be the link in the show notes here. We'll send out some emails to our subscribers. If you're finding this content useful and you want to see more of this, again, give us your feedback. I know a lot of our listeners do give us some interaction and some feedback, and we're going to touch on one of those questions to wrap up this episode. But yeah, feel free to give us your feedback. We really do appreciate it. And there is a password. This module, this training modules are password protected. So if you're listening to this episode and you want access, reach out to us and we'll provide the password. It's open to anyone, not just a Better Way brokers. So definitely reach out if this is something you want to implement. And if you're looking to implement and looking for support to implement this is something we're very hands-on with at our brokerage. We are helping people constantly implement this process in their business, and it goes from creating the CRM connections with the right tech and whatnot. So whatever you need, we are hands-on on this, and we're happy to help. So I'll just kind of wrap up with some listener interaction, which is the question that we've had here is, do you ask clients for referrals, and what is the best way to do this? So the answer is certainly yes. We definitely ask our clients for referrals. We found there's key moments that are more impactful to do so. And I think we've touched on this in the earlier episodes, but when you have a file, let's say you're in lead stage, you're at, and you're working towards pre-approval stage, we find that's when clients are most active. Post funding or at funding, there's obviously an opportunity where we're asking referrals, like we touched on in this episode, where we're asking at funding. But we found the highest conversion is actually at the pre-approval stage. So once we pre-approve the client, that's typically when we're asking for our first referral. And we've touched on this too. Like, a lot of clients think that their potentially bothering us, or we're too busy to take on the referrals. So asking or making it very clear that you want referrals is very important, because a lot of people think they're just bothering you, or like, I don't want to give this guy, hey, my brother's looking to buy, but I don't want to bother my broker with that. Like, hey, my brother's a nuisance, like in their mind, right? So whatever you do to effectively ensure that your clients know you're looking for referrals, I highly recommend doing that. I know people put it in their email signatures, like, hey, referrals your best compliment, or what have you. Make a point of asking verbally, make a point of letting your clients know that this is supporting your business. So that's it. That's all we got for today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you enjoyed this series. Again, a reminder, make sure to check out the resources. We put a lot of time and effort into this resources. And if you want help with this, don't hesitate to reach out. Hope you have a great day, and thanks for listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you found value in this show, please subscribe to our channel on your preferred platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Your support is incredibly appreciated. We also welcome your reviews and feedback, which are crucial in helping us deliver outstanding educational content. Feel free to share your thoughts. A 5-star review would be fantastic if you think we earned it. Lastly, a vital announcement about Backpack Buddies, our chosen charity for 2024. This remarkable organization addresses a hidden hunger issue many are unaware of. In British Columbia, while school districts provide meals during school hours, numerous children face food scarcity at home, particularly during weekends. Backpack Buddy steps in to support these vulnerable children, ensuring they have easy to prepare, familiar food for weekends. This is achieved through collaborations with schools and an extensive distribution network. Your contribution can make a significant difference. With just $20, you can give a child in need a food bag from Backpack Buddies filled with enough meals and snacks to sustain them over the weekend and more. Once again, thank you for listening, and see you on the next one.